Friday. Welcome to Convocation. We are excited to share with you a conversation among women in just a couple minutes, but first we have some announcements. First, FemCorps.
All right, good morning, y'all. My name is Sarah. I'm with FemCorps today. Awesome. So as you know, we've been highlighting for Women's History Month some pretty cool women throughout history. And who I'm talking about today made history very recently. Sharice Davids. She is not our representative, but represents Kansas's 3rd District, which is up in the Kansas City, Olathe, Lenexa area. She was elected in 2018. She's a member of the Ho-Chunk Nation up in Wisconsin. So when she was elected, she became one of the first 2 Native women in the United States Congress, along with Deb Haaland of New Mexico, who was also elected in 2018. Her history, she attended Johnson County Community College as well as Cornell Law School. And prior to her time in the United States Congress, she was also a professional MMA fighter. During her time so far, she has demonstrated her position on the issues as an advocate for the Affordable Care Act, fair and legal voting practices, political accountability, and supporting small businesses. So thank you so much for joining me and celebrating Women's History Month, and stay tuned for updates on some FemCorps activities we have coming up in March. Thanks, guys.
Allie, I know you've been announcing about YOP and poetry and stuff, but I am bad at poetry. I wish I knew more words.
Well, what if the words were already on the page and all you had to do was circle them?
That sounds great, but a little bit like plagiarizing.
It's not. Now, for a limited time only, there are 4 Blackout poetry stations set up around campus where all you have to do is pick the words you want and then color out the words you don't want.
That sounds creative and fun.
It is both of those things and also free. Please do it.
Oh my YOP.
That's us.
Hey everyone, I'm Caroline. I'm with SGA. We sent out a survey last week about Title IX where you could put your concerns and questions in a little paragraph if you wanted to. We're going to resend that out after Convo today. I want to encourage everyone to fill it out. This is a way to get your opinions and concerns out there. We will be taking them to administration to continue on with all this work we're doing. So fill it out once you get it. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Natalie, and on behalf of SALT, I want to remind you all to vote for the Employee of the Month. You should see an email in your inbox. I believe Tony sent it out right before Convo, so please make sure you fill that out. This month's employee will be recognized at the softball game later this month. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jenna, and I'm here on behalf of Diversity Council. Can we have the slide put up, please? Okay, well, while it's waiting, I just want to tell you about a couple events that we have coming up this month. The first one is on Wednesday the 11th, and it's going to take place in the chapel at 11 a.m., and you can write a letter to a woman role model. So anyone that you choose. Then we're going to have a spa night. We're going to watch the movie Harriet, which is a really good movie if you haven't seen it. And then we're still working on a self-defense class.
Thank you. One quick note in addition to Caroline's announcement. I just want to affirm when President Gehring did his convo and we had a conversation, there were so many really important questions submitted during that in the anonymous online forum, and I was really, obviously we had a lot of questions to get to in the audience too. But I wanted to affirm that if you all had concerns that you submitted there, Caroline and SGA would love to have those submitted again so that they can be taken to the administration. So thanks for announcing that, Caroline. Now, into Convo for today. I am really excited to welcome a group of women who are going to have a candid conversation about things in their lives. So when Michelle Armster, who is executive director of MCC Central States, came to Doug and I with this idea, we thought it was a really fun and exciting and different kind of way to hear from women on campus. It is Women's History Month, and I will turn it over to Michelle to talk a little bit more about what they're going to be doing.
Good morning. It's good to be here and seeing all your faces. I realize how old I am. There's no way on God's green earth that I would have my phone up here and read anything off of it. So that just is that age gap that I'm constantly being made aware of when I come on this campus. First, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement, and for us to recognize that people of this land that we called Kansas, for many years, there were people here who, thousands and thousands of years, people who farmed this land, who lived on this land, who traversed this land, who hunted on this land, who raised their families, who maintained villages, and had a life that was fulfilling and until the settlers came. And when the settlers arrived, their communities were destroyed, genocide was committed, there was forced removal, and they were displaced and they were disconnected. We say the names of the people whose land that we are on today. People like the Kanza, the Ottawa, the Pawnee, the Wichita, the Cheyenne, the Sac and Fox, and many, many, many more names that are lost, many names and languages that are gone, many people that were exterminated. And so we take a moment of silence to remember, to repent, and pray for restoration. Ashe. This month is Women's History Month, and this day and this weekend is International Women's Day. So this is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate, to learn, to know about women, or to even to take the time to hear voices from women on this campus. One interesting historical note that I found about 30 minutes ago, I asked who was the first female instructor here on Bethel College campus? And the person's name is Miss Clara Lemon. She taught fine arts starting in 1896. So Bethel College was established in 1887, and approximately 10 years later, Miss Clara Lemons taught on this campus. So that's an interesting tidbit of information, and encourage you to learn more about her, and hopefully her name will be spoken and not be silenced. Today we have 3 women from your campus, Bethel College students, and as I introduce you, just raise your hand. One is Miss Linda Moyo. She's 19 years old. She's a psychology major, and she is communications arts and human services minor. She intends to graduate in 2022. Linda was born and raised in Zimbabwe, and then at 9 years of age, she moved to Kansas. She doesn't read much. I ask each one of them, what do you read for enjoyment? She doesn't read much outside of her coursework. I just want to put that out there. Outside of her coursework when she's in school. But what she does enjoy doing is listening to podcasts that are positive and empowering, like Super Soul Sunday, On Purpose, and The School of Greatness. Also, Linda and her father have a Facebook show called Fridays with Father, in which she and her father just have a conversation on any kind of topic. So it's rather cute. The next I'd like to introduce to you is Annie Carlson. And Annie is a sophomore biology major. She's from Freeman, South Dakota. She too says that she doesn't have much time outside of her coursework during the year. However, in the summer, she will read, she didn't say trashy. She will read romance novels because they require minimal critical thinking. I have been to Freeman, South Dakota. I was caught in a snowstorm in Freeman, South Dakota. That was frightening. But I love going to Freeman, South Dakota because they have what's called chislic on a stick. So if you ever go to South Dakota, you go to Freeman, you must have chislic. And the other person that we have, young woman that we have, is Winter Rentas. Winter is 21 years old. She's a biology major, and after she graduates, she is going to medical school in veterinary medicine. She wants to be a large animal veterinarian. She will graduate in 2021. She is from Manhattan, Kansas, but now lives in Wichita. And she says when she is able to read for pleasure, she reads books about basketball and the game of basketball. So these are our three women that we have here today, this morning. I also want to acknowledge who is not here. We don't have an Asian woman. We don't have an indigenous woman. We don't have non-gender conforming female. We don't have a non-binary female. So this is just the beginning. We must do better, and we will do better. The process this morning is to just have a conversation. This is a kitchen table conversation. That means, you know, how you sit around the table and we just talk. So we will talk. I have questions for them. You will listen, and then if there is time at the end, we will open it up for questions. Okay? Enjoy. Make sure this is on. You hear me? Can you hear me now? So the first question that I have for you all is, what woman, dead or alive, famous or not so famous, fictional or real, what woman do you admire? And in what ways does she or has she shaped what it means for you to be a woman?
Okay, so the person that I picked was Pat Summitt. She's now deceased, but she was the head women's basketball coach at the University of Tennessee. I chose her because in basketball, it's a male-dominated sport. And so when you go against people, you're like, oh, they're girls, they can't play like boys, or they're not going to be good enough. I picked her because she's just a really good role model to me of what it's like to be a woman and to want something bad. So she's really influenced me in the way of basketball. I used to play on an all-boys team, and it's like I was the only girl, but it's influencing to me because women can do sports, they can do basketball, they can do a lot of things. So she's influenced me in the game and how I play. So.
Okay, so how many of you guys know Oprah Winfrey? Anybody? So I call her my spiritual mother. Oh my goodness, don't get me started. But she's a woman I look up to because as an African girl living in America, I don't get to see a lot of people who look like me every single day life. I don't get to see people who look like me on TV. But she's a woman who looks like me when I turn on the TV. And so she's a strong, independent Black woman who is very business savvy, and she's inspiring the world, and that is why she inspires me.
So I chose someone who's not famous, and it's going to sound a little cliche, but I chose my mom and sister because they have been, being the youngest child, they've been so influential on me growing up, and my sister especially kind of taught me how to stand up for what I want. We're both very bold and outgoing people. as they know. So when we face adversity or people telling us we can't do that, to kind of ask, like, why, and to push through anyway.
Thank you. I'm going to share I'm going to also include the person that I have admired for a number of years is a woman by the name of Amanda Berry Smith. And so Amanda Berry Smith was a 19th century African American woman who, because she was black, it was considered that she could not possibly be a minister, both in dominant culture, understanding of who has souls and who don't, and as well as patriarchy that influences church. She was told that she could not preach. And Amanda Berry Smith, she was I don't have faith like this. I don't have faith like this. But she felt God telling her she needed to go to England. So rather than going around asking for money, she would just get on her knees and pray. And somewhere, somehow, money would come that would give her that passage to wherever she wanted to go, wherever she felt called to go. She went to England, she went all over Europe, and this is in the 1800s, mind you. She also went to India. She went to Liberia, and she started a school there. All of this on her own because there was no churches that would support her for the variety of reasons. And then when she came back to the United States, she testified in front of a congressional panel that was looking at the issue of rum being made here in the United States and sent to African countries, destroying African communities. She also had the only orphanage for children of African descent. Of course, that was called the Colored Orphanage, because there was no place for black children who didn't have parents, and so she again raised the money for that herself. She did not get government assistance or recognition or anything. The most moving story that I find about Amanda Berry Smith is they talk about her being in India, and she was there. She was invited to India for revival, and the story is that they tell of her. She's like 6 foot tall, and she's in front of an ocean, a body of water that's moving, and they talk about her swaying, and then she's moving, and then the story is that she starts singing. And the song that they said that she sang was, "There's a wideness in God's mercy, like the wideness of the sea." And at the end, there were apparently some young men who were trying to disrupt the revival, and they were quieted. And they described her as God's image carved in ebony. So she's been a person that's kept me I just admire that anyone could have done that. She talks about she was born enslaved, her whole family was enslaved, but her father was able to purchase his freedom and her mother's freedom and the children's freedom. So she's a pretty powerful role model for me. Okay, so the second question I have is, as a female student at Bethel College, what do you think people need to know or understand?
I guess being a female, at Bethel. My experience here has been great being a female. There's fewer females here, obviously, than males, but that's just because of the population of Bethel and, the sports. But I think being here, I feel like sometimes females here are held to a higher standard in some areas than males. So I feel like kind of leveling that out between the students and the teachers, and not expecting the female to be able to do everything perfect every time at the best. Some females' their best ability is not going to be as high as someone another female. So I think just like leveling that out and understanding that females do too have faults and they're not always going to be perfect is a thing that people at Bethel can understand.
As a woman, I don't think while at Bethel I've ever experienced any injustice of being a female. And yeah, so my experience here has been pretty good, but I want to do something with all the women here. Can we all stand up, all the women, please? Okay, so you guys will just repeat what I say, okay? Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate.
Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us.
We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous?
Who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, fabulous, and talented?
Actually, who are you not to be? Who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world.
Your playing small does not serve the world.
There's nothing enlightened about shrinking.
There's nothing enlightened about shrinking.
So that other people won't feel insecure around you.
So that other people won't feel insecure around you.
We are all meant to shine.
We are all meant to shine.
As children do.
As children do.
And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
We unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. You guys can sit. Thank you for that.
So that's a poem by William Robinson, I believe. But as a woman on campus, I just want you guys to feel empowered and to know that you have nothing to fear and don't dim your light. You know, shine bright and be bright.
So what I want to talk about is what I think people need to know. So I am a member of FemCorps. A lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people think that FemCorps is just the girls who sit down in this corner and snap. And that is not the case. Also, going to FemCorps doesn't mean that you hate men. That is also not the case, because that's not what feminism even is. So I just think that people need to know that FemCorps is just a group of women who support each other and want women to have the equal respect and privileges that men do. We talk a lot about women having rights to deciding what to do with their bodies and not letting a male legislature decide that for us. So, yeah, I think FemCorps kind of has a negative stereotype on campus among people who just are like, oh, it's those girls. And that's not the case. And men come to FemCorps too. So if you support women and want them to have equal rights, this is my plug. Come on out to FemCorps.
Thank you, guys. And the next question is, well, you talked a little bit about it, but what I've written is, what are the ways that you feel like Bethel College has encouraged you as a student, as a woman, and also, but what has been challenging about the Bethel College culture?
Well, I guess, with being a biology major, it's not the easiest major to go into. And like, I guess like any of my science professors, I guess I can use them as an example, but they have like all pushed me to be like the best of my ability. Like when I feel like, oh no, this is too hard, I don't want to do this. Like they're there to actually like push me and guide me. And like whenever I send them like thousands of emails, they're quick to respond and they're like, hey, I'm here for you. I can come to my office and I'll help you. Like everything's gonna be fine. Which I think is really cool coming to Bethel, because I went to a junior college before this and it wasn't that way. It wasn't like the teachers were there for you and you needed. They're just like, oh, you're a student. Like they knew me because I was on the basketball team, but they're like, oh, you're just a student. Like my education to them didn't matter. So I kind of value that here at Bethel, and I feel like that's really pushed me to be like the best that I can and like to pursue my dreams of becoming a vet, because like I said, that's a very competitive field and it's not easy to get into, but like I have the tools now necessary in order to get into vet school. So I appreciate that.
What was the second part of that
And what has
question?
been challenging? You know, how have you been encouraged, but also what has been challenging about the culture of Bethel? Sorry about that. What has been challenging about the culture of Bethel College?
For me personally, what has been challenging is to, wake up every single day and go to classes and look at the teachers that don't look like me, or to look around at my students and my peers and they don't look like me. So that's something that really, it runs deep within me, and it's painful almost to get to witness that every single day. So I wish there was more diversity. We do have a pretty good diverse community, but I really wish that it was more diverse.
And are you speaking in particular in terms of faculty?
Both students and
faculty.
faculty. Yeah. So.
I didn't mean to cut you off because I know you can talk more. Go ahead.
The other part was something that has been really
Encouraging. Encouraged.
The opportunities that I've gotten as a Bethel College student have been amazing. And so that really encourages me to try more things and to do more stuff and to have a bigger dream for myself and other people like me.
Kind of like what Winter talked about, being a biology major, wanting to go to med school. In high school, my science and math teachers, they were all men, and when I told people that I wanted to go to medical school, I'd get the, oh, wow, do you want to have kids? And that kind of made me angry because, first of all, I have an aunt who is a doctor and has a lovely family. It's possible to do both. And I just kind of felt like right away I was being judged for this. But when I came to Bethel and I enrolled in classes with Dwight, there was nothing like that. It was kind of like, awesome, here are the classes you need to take to graduate in 4 years. And then having Fran as my advisor, she's so encouraging to me and supportive of me, and I just really feel like she cares about me and has never doubted what I want to do with my life, which I really appreciate, because up until I came to Bethel, a lot of people did that.
Are there any challenges?
I had one in mind, and now I can't remember. Obviously, there are challenges still with people, like the whole like medical school thing, having a family, people here thinking that, oh, yeah, I remember what I was going to say. So challenges I see at Bethel College is that I have a really diverse friend group in what they believe like about politics and stuff like that, and I don't want to get into that, but it's really hard for me kind of being a middleman, and there's so much separation in what people think, and I wish we could kind of come together and see each other's point of view instead of being so closed off, because that happens here within sports teams and different groups.
Yeah, and I think Bethel College is just a microcosm of our society at large, and so I think what's important about doing this is not a normal way of doing convocation, but providing those spaces where conversations can happen, where people can hear different points of view. You don't have to agree with what everyone says, but it's important if we're going to break that divisiveness and we're going to break that tendency towards name calling and isolating and because it also breeds violence. We're going to have to create these spaces and opportunities for people to be brave, for people to be courageous, and for people to be vulnerable. And so that's a very, very important important message. Thank you, the three of you. Thank you. So the last question. Well, we're going. See you. Yeah. We're not going to talk about that. We'll leave that alone. So the last question that I have is, I got a question from a faculty member wanting to know, what is it that you would say is that you need from faculty? I think you guys both kind of touched on it, faculty and staff. What is there anything else that you would like to, and if you just even have, I didn't ask something, but you feel like it's important to say, feel free to do that as well.
One thing I would say is that, like, just for some faculty, I know, like, they have a life outside of school, and students do too, but I feel like sometimes faculty is not as open to help, like, have, like, open hours that are accommodated for student schedules. Like, most students are athletes or in theater and music and art, and so we have a lot to, like, plug into our schedule. And for, like, some people, it's harder to go to office hours that are not fitting in that schedule. So then, like, those students are kind of at the back burner versus the students who have, like, gaps and stuff. I feel like some faculty can maybe, like, make adjustments to that, or, like, meet outside maybe at Mojo's or something to accommodate those students so that everyone can succeed, and not just the people who have time to, like, go and visit them at office hours.
In my experience, I've had pretty great teachers. One especially, Rachel Messer. I go to her if I have any crazy questions about any of my classes. And what I want to do in the future is to have a talk show, kind of like do what we're doing here. And I tell her all about my ideas, and she doesn't like shut them down. She's like, well, maybe you can do this, or sends me an email. This is a really cool opportunity. I think you should look into that. And so I appreciate how, instead of just in the classroom, these people are invested in our lives and our goals and our dreams.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop off of what you said, kind of. So I have had really great professors here, but the ones that I have closest relationships to are the ones who I feel care about me and outside the classroom. And when I go to their office hours, they're like, "How are you doing? How's life?" Instead of like, "What do you need help with?" Just like showing that you care, because as you know, college is really stressful, and a lot of times there's a lot of things going on outside of the problem that we need help with that we come to our office hours for.
Thank you, the three of you. We are going to open it up for any questions. I am not going to run this aisle because I won't make it up around this aisle. So you can come on down and ask the questions or something. I don't know.
We can move the mics around. I do this. We're good.
Hi, thanks all for coming. One thing I would like to point out is that I can think of several women who identify as gender nonconforming or non-binary. So I would just like to point that out, that they exist on campus. And I have a question about what experiences do you have with women in the LGBT community, and how can we be more encouraging to all women, and like even if they identify as something that's not normally perceived as women?
I'll start off with answering that one. I am the student representative for the MCC Central Boards along with Michelle. And in our last meeting that happened last week, we were reading a Bible verse, and then we had to reflect over it. And what I got from that Bible verse is that so often we see with our eyes and not with our soul, right? And so one thing that everybody can do is to just start seeing with the heart and the soul and not just the physical or the eyes, and like let your own opinions not get in the way of getting to know somebody.
I guess something I would say on that is like, I guess just seeing everyone as equal. Like, I know like life's not fair, like some people are higher up on the pole than others, but just seeing everyone as like for who they are, not what they look like, not what like how much money they have, not all that, but just simply like getting to know someone before you instantly shut them down just based off of like physical appearance.
Yeah, I guess I would just say what Winter said about equality overall, not based on what you identify as, but just everyone should be equal. And there's not equality, but yeah.
So I'm an adjunct professor, so I'm not. I have to watch myself because I just can't say anything, but I tend to say anything. But that being said, it's important for me that that we understand people as human, and that that there's this spectrum of identities that includes how one identifies in terms of sexuality, gender conforming, non-gender, and you know, there's the biology, and then that whole gender piece is fluid, right? It's a social construct, and we act as though that it's fixed, and so you know, my hope in my life is that people will realize that I think of people as human. However, I think it's also important to recognize that there is something unique and special and different and worth understanding about differences. You know, I don't want anybody to look at me and say, oh, I don't see race or I don't see gender. No, I am an African American woman, and that says something about who I am and what I value and where I come from. And so it's important for people to embrace who they are fully. So the thing is, I'm keenly aware of non-gender conforming females on the campus, as well as non-binary females on the campus, and I and I understand. Had I had more time, I would have had a larger kitchen table. You know, so there's always going to be a leaf at my table to put in so that we can make it larger. And so I acknowledge that from the very beginning, that this table is not full, and there are women, there are females that are missing, but it should not be. And if I do this again, or when I do this again, it will not be.
A question submitted online. What do you recommend females do to empower other women if we don't have time to come to FemCore or other events on campus?
I'm going to say believe each other in the stories that you say. Don't put other women down for the choices that they have made. And just make a conscious effort to try to build each other up instead of build each other down for the choices that you're making with your life, because the choices other people make don't affect you.
I guess something I would add to that is just like be encouraging of others like around you. Like clearly we walk past other girls or women when we're like going to class. Just like say hey or compliment someone, like I like your hair, I like your shoes or something. Like you never know how far like one compliment you say to someone can make their day or influence them to then do it to someone else, which then will be a domino effect. And like we're all a team basically, so we should be influencing each other.
That said it all.
Okay, so a lot of you guys are going into male-dominated professional fields, even in entertainment. what are some things that you're super excited about being a female in those industries? And then what are some things that kind of discourage you from that as well?
Okay, so well, something that I'm excited about is like my love for animals is like more than my love for humans, not gonna lie. So I'm very excited about like the nurturing side that I can provide to people with like animals. Like most men are like, here, let me get your dog. I'm gonna operate, come back in like 2 days. Here you go. Like I'm excited to like give like be that one-on-one with the patients, them like not the patients, I guess it would be the animals, but the owners, and like leave them feeling satisfied, like, hey, I'm going to take care of your animal like it's my animal. It's going to be taken care of, like everything's going to be fine. I'm really excited about that because I feel like oftentimes, like when I've gone to shadow and I've seen males, they're not really like that. So one thing that I am kind of discouraged about is, I guess, just people not taking me as serious as they would males. They're going to be like, they might think, oh, maybe, so you're the like vet assistant or vet tech, you're not the vet. And like, so that's kind of something that discourages me, is because most time when like, say like females walk into like a medical room or like to check you in, they're like, so when can I see the doctor? And say that woman is the doctor. Like that's kind of something that I'm kind of nervous about.
Something that makes me excited about the kind of work that I will get into is the women who have come before me and who are going to come after me. One of my favorite quotes is, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. The power of role models, like I said before, Oprah Winfrey, oh my goodness. Yeah, she has paved the pathway for me to follow and kind of like do my own thing in an empowering way, even in a space full of men. And something that's challenging is when I was around 5th, 6th grade, I was still new to America, and I was kind of trying to get the social norms and how everything works. And I realized that people just assumed that I was dumb. So I was like, oh, okay, so I just need to play into this role of me being dumb. And that has affected me, and I'm still, trying to grow over that. And I think it's important to know that women are just as smart or even more smart. And so we need to, grow into that and be more confident as we're going into our very difficult fields.
I'm most excited for, so I want to be an OB, and I'm excited to walk with women in their pregnancy journey, and I feel like that's something that men can't necessarily relate to, and I don't know about all the females out here, but I would not want to have a male OB. So I'm excited to be able to be there for women through that process. And what I'm scared or nervous about is through the med school process, automatically being looked down upon because I am a woman.
So this is obviously a conversation that needs to continue. So how can we encourage people to continue this conversation and to ask questions, because that's an important part?
I guess I would be just kind of think of it as like, we're just like, if you ask questions, you may be asking for like someone else that can't necessarily speak up. And that way, like asking questions then will help us to get to the point where we need to be. Because like my mom always told me, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you don't speak up about something that it's bothering you, it's never going to get fixed. So I would just say, like, be true to who you are and just speak your mind. Like, be respectful of others, but still voice for yourself.
There is power in talking and the power of community. So I think that women, yes, we have girls' night out, but let's sit down. Let's have these kind of conversations. Let's talk about what empowers us, what challenges us, and through that, we can grow together.
I'm going to say try to get outside your little bubble so you can continue the conversation with people that maybe don't hear your
that don't hear the same conversation over and over again. Like, we sit with the same people in the caf, you have the same conversations over and over again. And I'm not saying sit with people who aren't your friends, because no one wants to do that. But like in classroom settings, if you have the opportunity, just speak out.
I think what's important is where can Bethel College students and staff and faculty create, and I don't like to use the language of safe spaces, because oftentimes the conversation is not safe for everyone. But how do we create brave spaces? How do we create courageous spaces? How do we have conversations that are well facilitated, focusing on or addressing questions or issues that in a way that is meaningful? Because I'll just put it this way: it is not a person of color's responsibility to tell white people how to understand racism. Do the work. It is not a women's responsibility to tell men what it means to be. Do the work. So how do we have these opportunities for people to do the work before, so that we can have conversations that helps to enlighten, that helps to encourage, that helps to inspire, that encourages understanding, keeping in mind that you don't have to agree to understand. I mean, I think we think understanding means great. It doesn't mean, but understanding helps for you to understand better. And so I think, and how that happens, it can happen in a variety of ways. It can be, small groups that are intentional of, I've been to the CAF, but I don't eat there regularly enough to know. But, what if a group that don't usually hang together say, you know what, once a month we are going to eat lunch together, and it's going to be a topical discussion, and that topic rotates, and so the facilitation rotates, and the person but like you can just once a month just sit somewhere different and talk about something different. That's just something that comes off the top of my head.
Time for one more question.
How would you describe your experiences with the ways male students treat female students on campus?
Well, look, I'm going to lay this straight. I don't live on Bethel campus, so I'm barely ever here. I live at home. So I haven't really been in that kind of space to encounter really much anything, because I literally come to class, and then if I'm not in class, I'm somewhere quiet by myself doing my homework, and then I go to practice, and then I go straight home. So mine wouldn't be very true or vocal, because I'm not really here that much to experience that kind.
I would say the same as you. I come to my classes, quickly get out, go to work, so I really don't know what happens between those two groups on campus.
I live on campus. I have a lot of great guy friends who I love very much and have treated me with respect, and maybe that's just because I'm outgoing and I don't take other people's crap. I mean, yeah, I've been catcalled, and I really don't appreciate that, and I don't think that's an effective way to get a girl. But overall, I'd say that there are a lot of really respectful guys here, and I really appreciate that.
Let's say thank you again to our panel of women. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.